Vanishing species are one of the main problems of this globalized world. Ecosystems have suffered the extinction of many life forms, with a significant decrease in the population of the rest. So places still rich in biodiversity are today a powerful attraction for thousands of tourists worldwide. One of the groups most affected by extinction is large predators such as the jaguar. The virtual extinction of the jaguar in Argentina follows the fate of many other mammals. Transformation of the plains, and encroachment of farming borders on forested areas, increase of the human population, conflicts with livestock and poaching were determining factors of the jaguar's demise.
Que el jaguarete está pasando una situación bastante crítica en el país. Sufrió históricamente una retracción muy grande, ha quedado relegado a muy pequeñas áreas que están en el norte del país y estimamos en este momento que hay menos de 200 ejemplares silvestres.
In the Iberá wetlands, jaguars became extinct over half a century ago. The last known animal was shot in the 50s. But in the Iberá, other species have also disappeared, like the giant otter, the tapir, the collared peccary and the giant anteater. Towards the 1970s, the excessive commercial hunting had transformed the Iberá into a gigantic wetland with almost no large mammals. In 1975, zoologist George Schaller, famous for his studies on the gorilla and the big cats, overflew the wetlands surveying the marsh deer.
I came in 1975 because I was doing marsh deer surveys in Brazil, and I wanted to see what's here. And so it was great hospitality. Local ranchers flew me around and local people gave me information. And so we flew about 1,000 kilometers over the Iberá. And I saw only 17 marsh deer. And I thought, that is a very low number for this big, beautiful marsh. Of course, it was not a complete count, but they obviously were very rare.
In 1983, the Iberá was declared a provincial nature reserve. From then on, things started to change. And 3 decades later, the situation Schaller sees in the reserve is very different.
Then, with great foresight, Corrientes established a provincial reserve in 1983. And that's a wonderful step that the province shows this kind of concern for conservation. But now I come back, and it makes me feel good. There's been a real effort made to protect the Iberá and its marsh deer, and I am told that it varies what I'm told. Some say there are 5,000 marsh deer, some say there are 8,000. Well, no matter what, it's wonderful that they obviously have increased greatly.
The recovery of the deer and other species was the product of the decision of the people of Corrientes to create the Iberá Reserve. But there were still other species missing. As part of its efforts to restore the ecosystem, Conservation Land Trust has been dedicated for years to the creation of populations of extinct species in Iberá. The reintroduction program of the anteater has 30 free animals, of which 12 were born in Corrientes. Likewise, the creation of a population of pampas deer is succeeding, with 20 deer liberated, 18 born inside the reserve. However, the Iberá is still lacking its top predator, the jaguar. This is uniquely significant for the ecological restoration of the reserve. When a large predator disappears, the ecosystem is seriously affected. The imbalance generated by the proliferation of herbivores and the increase of medium-sized predators result in the degradation of flora and fauna and a decrease in biodiversity. A top predator is the regulator needed to maintain the proper functioning of the ecosystem. After the success of the anteater and the pampas deer, Conservation Land Trust set itself its greatest challenge: to restore a population of jaguars in the Iberá wetlands.
Entonces, nuestro objetivo es muy sencillo en realidad. Es crear un gran parque nacional dentro de la cuenca del Iberá, siendo este el segundo humedal más grande de América Latina y un lugar importantísimo para la biodiversidad. Si nosotros queremos dar un parque nacional que sea completo, que sea de verdadera calidad, debe tener todas sus especies de fauna. Y en ese sentido, ¿por qué es especial el jaguar? Porque es el máximo depredador. Es la garantía de la integridad ecológica del futuro parque nacional.
The restoration of populations of big cats has very few precedents in the world. In fact, it would be the first project with jaguars in America. And this is why, to design the project, it was necessary to call in specialists on jaguars and the recovery of felines.
Lo que tenemos ahora es un grupo de asesores externos increíble, que ha ido creciendo cada año y que nos da mucha seguridad y mucha confianza en que, primero, no estamos solos y, segundo, no estamos haciendo ninguna locura que hayamos decidido nosotros solos.
Experts from other areas of Latin America have joined the group formed of scientists studying the jaguars in Misiones: Agustín Paviolo, Carlos de Angelo, and Mario Di Vitetti. All of them together defined the structure of the project from the very start. To restore a population of jaguars, three essential elements are needed. On the one hand, there must be a natural area that is extensive, safe, and that has prey species. Biologist Carlos de Angelo was called in to determine if Iberá met this requirement.
El jaguareté es un gran depredador y necesita esencialmente dos cosas: una, presas para comer, y otra, refugios que le permita acechar a sus presas para cazarlas. Entonces, por un lado tenemos que saber eso, o sea, existe hoy en la reserva Iberá un hábitat suficiente para sostener jaguareté, y otra cosa que necesita el jaguareté aquí es un lugar seguro, o sea, que un esfuerzo de reintroducción no sea en vano, de que al poco tiempo las mismas cosas que extinguieron el jaguareté años atrás vuelvan a eliminar la población que reintroduzcamos.
For a year, Carlos did air surveys to gather the information. The results showed Iberá abounded in prey and, in turn, that it had a huge area available and safe to occupy. In addition, the study made it possible to determine the core area that met the best conditions. But having available habitat is just one of the important aspects. Another requirement is that the program must have social acceptance. As part of the preliminary research, Flavia Caruso carried out a perception study about the jaguar in the capital, Corrientes, and in the localities surrounding Iberá. Through 450 surveys, Flavia found that the people of Corrientes are proud of the jaguar and of its return.
Es algo que a uno le emociona ver un animal así, es lindo ver, a uno le gusta.
Los resultados obtenidos de las entrevistas fueron inesperados por nosotros. La predisposición de la gente fue a favor casi en un 100%, independientemente de la ocupación de cada entrevistado.
The studies showed that there is a social rapport for the species. Further, there was a proper and safe habitat available. But restoring a jaguar population is a complex process that requires experience as well as the capacity to develop totally new methods. The project put together a team of experienced consultants, biologists, vets, engineers, along with specialists in the handling of endangered species, worked in the design of a sound and practicable plan to implement. Each perspective was incorporated into a program based on the knowledge of the species and on the possibilities of its preservation. Since his early work with Schaller 4 decades ago, Peter Crawshaw is still investigating South American jaguars. Peter believes this project to be an experimental challenge, and it stands a good chance. He's one of the main allies because he recognizes it would serve as a model for other efforts.
Ver se a população consegue se estabelecer. Uma vez que haja hábitat adequado e populações de presas disponíveis que garantam uma subsistência para a espécie, ela deveria se restabelecer. E nesse processo de aprendizado que forçosamente nós vamos ter que passar, obviamente nós vamos aprender sobre como a população vai se comportar. E isso que nós vamos aprender vai poder ser usado em outras áreas geográficas também, onde a população da espécie esteja em risco, né?
Astrid Vargas, world-renowned for her work with the black-footed ferret and the recovery of the Iberian lynx, the most endangered feline in the world, joined the project having the same concern Peter had.
Es un proyecto pionero, es la primera vez que se reintroduce jaguar en el mundo y la idea fundamental es recuperar un ecosistema pero a la vez aprender, y si aprendemos a reintroducir jaguar en el Iberá, tenemos un modelo para poder reintroducir jaguares en otras zonas y crear otros núcleos poblacionales que sirvan para conectar y mejorar la población de jaguar a nivel mundial.
The project is based on the liberation of animals bred in captivity in large pens built in the field. The idea is to be able to officially release the offspring born in Iberá and Corrientes, or eventually in other provinces of Argentina. Building the pens required the initial task of making fence posts. The 1,500 steel pipes were cut and welded in San Miguel by a team of local workers coordinated by Park Ranger Pascual Pérez, a native of Corrientes. It was a huge challenge, and the goal seemed distant.
Era como que estábamos todos alineados y encaminados, tenemos que hacer eso y tenemos que llegar a fin de año con todo esto cortado, soldado, con las T's armadas, y así fue, logramos eso. Creo que la gente respondió en ese sentido y entendió para poder llegar a ese objetivo.
Transport across the waters was another obstacle. Using a raft and many motorboats, Pascual organized the transportation of 150 tons of material to San Alonso Island in an 8-week period. In turn, from the port of the island to the designated site, the material was moved in a cart pulled by oxen, a transport system practically obsolete in Argentina. The construction of the yards had to wait till the dry season. The design, made by engineer Pedro Friedrich, had to comply with strict handling rules and safety norms, especially taking into account the origin of the reproductive pairs.
El jaguarete que nosotros íbamos a usar como parentales, como padres para criar, eran animales de zoológico, animales que bajo ningún aspecto deben salir a la libertad.
But safety was not the only requirement.
Y el gran desafío fue que estos corrales debían criar con estos animales parentales crías salvajes, crías que tengan intacto su comportamiento salvaje, básicamente hacia el hombre.
Finally, Pedro designed a breeding center with 4 breeding pens of 1,200 square meters, 2 yards for the offspring, each of 1.5 hectares, and a large yard for pre-release of 30 hectares that incorporates the habitats found in the region. The fence, 5 meters high, will have 20 electric wires. Because of its dimensions, it seemed a difficult task. However, in just 11 months and with an investment of around $400,000, 80% is already completed. The contribution of a foreign donation and 2 private Argentine firms was indispensable, as was the task of the workers of Corrientes who gave their skills and their invaluable commitment to the Iberá.
Si hubiéramos encargado esto a una empresa constructora en estructuras metálicas, hubiera sido impagable, hubiera sido algo irrealizable. La única esperanza que teníamos es poder hacerlo con recursos propios, es decir, con la gente del lugar y con estas empresas argentinas que nos apoyaron. Y bueno, sin ninguna duda, las personas que trabajan en el día de hoy son gente de acá del lugar, son gauchos correntinos y trabajan increíblemente bien.
In a few weeks, things will be ready to receive the first breeding jaguars, initiating a dynamic process that combines nature and society. Beyond the ecological aspects, the return of the jaguar has a cultural and economic importance. As tourism is clearly becoming the main industry of the Iberá, the advent of the jaguar can be an important factor of development. The Brazilian Pantanal is a good example. Once a paradise for fishermen, in less than 10 years it turned into the best place in the world to see jaguars, attracting thousands of tourists each year. A recent study shows that each jaguar from the north of the Pantanal yields on average around $50,000 per motorboat per season. This results in an increase of economic benefits for the local communities. It also means a profound change of attitude towards the species by the cattle ranchers in the Pantanal. From seeing the animal as a problem, they started seeing it as an opportunity. In fact, a jaguar can yield more profit than the cattle it might kill.
Com todo esse movimento de turismo para a observação de onça, você percebe que a percepção dos fazendeiros, dos pecuaristas, é outra. Que há 10 anos atrás, caso uma onça fosse e matasse um bezerro ou um animal dele, a primeira medida que ele ia tomar é tentar matar o animal, porque ele considerava a onça somente como um problema causador de um prejuízo econômico para ele. Agora, é diferente, se uma onça mata um bezerro nessa região, ele pensa, pô, a onça está aqui na região, de repente eu posso chamar turistas, posso montar uma pousada em minha fazenda, posso ter um retorno com isso. Então aqui a observação de onças é muito ao longo dos rios, mas em muitas regiões do Pantanal já está tendo essa inversão e tendo um turismo direto na fazenda, na propriedade, em busca de onças. Então você tem totalmente uma inversão de valores. O que era a ideia 10 anos atrás de somente matar a onça, agora não, é preservar e enxergar a onça como um bem material, um bem que pode dar um retorno financeiro muito grande para o fazendeiro.
Iberá has the unique opportunity of recovering a population of jaguars. There is adequate space and a team of professionals with the capacity to do it. But the return of the jaguar can be turned into much more important aim, the purpose of uniting nature and culture, transforming the preservation of the ecosystem into an objective shared by the society inhabiting it.
Yo creo que el valor de este proyecto es su globalidad. Aborda aspectos ecológicos, pero también aspectos sociales y de desarrollo económico de la zona. Es decir, va mucho más allá de la conservación de una sola especie. Consiste en la recuperación de todo un ecosistema y de utilizar al jaguar como especie bandera para el desarrollo económico de la región del Iberá.
It's never easy and cheap to reintroduce a large predator, but from what I hear, the communities around here are keen to have the jaguar back. For no other reason than it would be a tremendous boon to tourism, to the economy of the province, You can see it in the Pantanal in Brazil. When I worked there in the 1970s, jaguars were so shy you could never see them. Then tourists started coming. There were tourist homes built on the fazendas there. You go by boat on the river and the jaguars just lie there and watch the boats go by. It's a wonderful experience for visitors. You can have the same thing in the Iberá. And I think Argentina and Corrientes would be tremendously proud to have all the species that were here back again.
Vanishing species are one of the main problems of this globalized world. Ecosystems have suffered the extinction of many life forms, with a significant decrease in the population of the rest. So places still rich in biodiversity are today a powerful attraction for thousands of tourists worldwide. One of the groups most affected by extinction is large predators such as the jaguar. The virtual extinction of the jaguar in Argentina follows the fate of many other mammals.
Over the Iberá, and I saw only 17 marsh deer. And I thought, that is a very low number for this big, beautiful marsh. Of course, it was not a complete count, but they obviously were very rare.
In 1983, the Iberá was declared a provincial nature reserve. From then on, things started to change. And 3 decades later, the situation Schaller sees in the reserve is very different.
Then, with great foresight, Corrientes established a provincial reserve in 1983. And that's a wonderful step that the province shows this kind of concern for conservation. But now I come back, and it makes me feel good. There's been a real effort made to protect the Iberá and its marsh deer, and I am told that it varies what I'm told. Some say there are 5,000 marsh deer, some say there are 8,000. Well, no matter what, it's wonderful that they obviously have increased greatly.
The recovery of the deer and other species was the product of the decision of the people of Corrientes to create the Iberá Reserve. But there were still other species missing. As part of its efforts to restore the ecosystem, Conservation Land Trust has been dedicated for years to the creation of Popperantita. Towards the 1970s, the excessive commercial hunting had transformed the Iberá into a gigantic wetland with almost no large mammals. In 1975, zoologist George Schaller, famous for his studies on the gorilla and the big cats, overflew the wetlands surveying the marsh deer.
I came in 1975 because I was doing marsh deer surveys in Brazil, and I wanted to see what's here. And so it was great hospitality. Local ranchers flew me around, and local people gave me information. And so we flew about 1,000 kilometers.
Transformation of the plains, and encroachment of farming borders on forested areas, increase of the human population, conflicts with livestock and poaching were determining factors of the jaguar's demise.
Que el jaguareté está pasando una situación bastante crítica en el país. Sufrió históricamente una retracción muy grande, ha quedado relegado a muy pequeñas áreas que están en el norte del país y estimamos en este momento que hay menos de 200 ejemplares silvestres.
In the Iberá wetlands, jaguars became extinct over half a century ago. The last known animal was shot in the 50s. But in the Iberá, other species have also disappeared, like the giant otter, the tapir, the collared peccary and the giant